First letter of John, from the beginning to chapter 2, verse 2. There is one who has existed from the beginning. We've all heard this story, and some of us even heard him and saw him with our own eyes. We stared in wonder at him, touched him with our hands, and now he's the one we call the Word of life itself. This life was made known to us. We have seen it, we have given witness to it, and we are now telling you the story of it. A story of the life of the world to come that never fades away, and one that is full of beauty and full of harmony. This life was with our Father, the Great Spirit, and now has been revealed to each one of us. We are telling you about the things we have seen and heard so that you can share with us that same life we share in harmony with our Father, the Great Spirit, his Son, Creator sets free, whom we call Jesus, and he is the chosen one. We write these things to you so that our hearts can dance together in a circle of life. You see, the Great Spirit is light. There's no darkness in him. This is the message we heard from the chosen one and are now telling it to you. If we say we are in harmony with him, yet are walking a path of darkness, we're simply just living a lie for you all to see. We're not actually following the truth. But if we walk in the light, as the Creator is in the light, we will be in harmony with each other as well. For the one known as Creator sets free has cleansed us from our broken ways. If we say that we have no broken ways, well, once again, we are lying to ourselves and to you. And the truth we claim is not actually alive in us. If we name our broken ways, our Creator can be trusted to release us from them, to purify us and set us free from these wrongdoing and broken paths. If we say we have never walked in a broken way, well, then we're actually calling our Creator a liar. And of course, that means that those words that he spoke, those beautiful words, are not actually living or at home in us. My much-loved children, I am writing these things to you so that you will no longer walk a path of broken ways. But if anyone does, we have one who represents us before our Father, the Great Spirit. That one is the one we call Creator sets free, Jesus, the chosen one, the one who did what is right and walked the good path. He paid a great price to set us free from our bad hearts and these broken ways. Not only just for us, to make us think that we are special, but for all people. For those of you joining us online, we had a wonderful and beautiful dedication today, and that forms the backdrop of a short reflection. And everybody says, amen. Yeah, all right, good. We'll see how short it is. What is it when we do a dedication? What is it we're hoping for Kenna? What kind of a life is it that we look for? Children and life bring us a sense of hope. They seem to be just pure potential. We put all of our dreams and our ambitions and our goals, and we see how vulnerable and weak they are, and we know how big and scary and violent this world can be. So as all things great in life, it's joy tempered with concern. So we take this seriously because at the end of the day, we want her to have a life that is full. The spaces where she feels she can live to be the person she was put on this earth to be. Because never forget, every time we get a baby, it means that life goes on. It keeps going on. It keeps going on. And that is something just on its surface to celebrate. We want her to experience love, real love. But what do we mean by that? Well, love is something that we can only find and receive from others. We want her to find a community of people that see her, hear her, honor her, help her figure out who she really is, because none of us really know. We get bogged down on all sorts of stuff. And everybody sitting here this morning, everyone who's lived life for a while knows that sometimes you sit there and like, is this my life? Where did it all go wrong? How am I so lucky to be here? We all know that sense of life being well beyond the control of our little decisions, good, bad, or otherwise. And so when we dedicate a child, when we ask Kenna and ask you to bring the spiritual element into it, we recognize also that this life is not just what we can see, touch, hear, prove scientifically or mathematically, all those things being great and important. It's our way of trying to find the meaning. What are we? What are we doing here? Is it supposed to gather up as much stuff? Is it supposed to gather around as many people? What is this thing we call life, for the years that we are given? None of us knowing how many we're going to be given. Some given too many, some given too few. But all, yeah, okay, good. I wasn't sure if that joke was going to land, so I moved right past it. But I'm glad. Thank you, everybody. This community has had a lot of goodbyes since August, and it stinks. It really stinks. We cling to a hope of life being more than the sum total of the days that we're here. But what I like about this letter in John, and especially the way it's written in this First Nations version, is a better understanding of the trials and tribulations of our life. Because one thing that keeps a lot of people away from a spiritual community, so-called a church, is a feeling of judgment, exclusion, not a space where you can necessarily express doubts, fears, a space where you don't get to be yourself. You have to sort of put on a persona, put on airs, pretend you've got it all together. And again, we go back to this thing. We all know very, very clearly when people are saying one thing and doing another. And unfortunately, a lot of churches have found, quote-unquote, success in just ignoring that and going forward, no matter how many other people say, well, you say you're about love, but then you say this and you do this. How is that love? And so we don't want Kenna to be in a hypocritical or oppressive or problematic community that's going to make her feel shame and have to hide parts of ourselves. Now, this is really tricky to do, because even our own biological family, sometimes we're like, not telling them that. I'm going to go ahead and go to my room and sort of keep that one to myself. And that's too bad. We all do it. We've all experienced it. So one of the ways in which, and this is where I'll wrap up, one of the ways in which I think the Christian church has locked down into an idea that has proven problematic is in this word, sin. Oh, yes. Yeah, I saw a few like, here we go. That is a good one. I can't wait to have a whole bunch of people that never hear me usually, and then I go, sinners! You're like, ugh. Sorry, that spiked on the audio. But that is the problem, because right, wrong, or otherwise, that's a stereotype. That is something that keeps people away. Why would I get up early on a Sunday morning, one of my few days off, to hear about how terrible I am? Now, that doesn't always happen, but it has happened. It's happened to me. It's probably happened to a lot of people here. And the worst part is, a lot of the ways in which sin is defined ends up being these like sins, small s. This idea that, oh, you made that choice, oh, you love this person, oh, you did this, tis, 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 tis. You wore the wrong clothes, you spoke out of turn, you didn't say the right thing, you don't have the right kind of this, you don't have the right kind of that, and it all labeled in, and you end up dancing around, getting very frustrated, getting very hurt, and saying, forget it, and bailing out. Actually, it's another F word you usually end up saying, but again, I'm going to follow the rules of church and say, forget it. And that's a problem. Because what that ends up being, especially when I'm very aware of the fact that I'm behind this pulpit, whether you ascribe to this or anything like that, this is a symbol of power. This is a symbol of authority. I'm literally standing up. We literally bolted in chairs forcing you to look at me. So these dynamics are all at play. And so whether you choose to ignore it or whatever, when I say something like this with a finger wagging, it lands. And that is a problem we're very aware of. Because this idea of sin, I heard a rabbi describe it as something else. Rather than me standing up here, telling you what my morality is, backing it up with 2 or 3 sentences from a book, and then shaming you for not living up to the standard that I've set, this rabbi came up with a wonderful, universal, human way of doing it that I think all of us can acknowledge. It's like, instead of using the word sin, how about we just understand it as the human propensity to screw everything up? Bingo, right? Were you to walk into a room and point a finger and be like, what, you sinner, people would rightfully put up their walls and forget it. If in a moment of vulnerability we can be in a room and it's like, you know that human propensity to screw things up? Any human being with a modicum of self-awareness will do just what you just did. Yeah, we know it. We know we can be given the most beautiful little thing and we fumble it. We know we are going to eventually say or do something harmful to the people we love the most. We know we're not going to do this life smoothly. Frankly, on our best days, we're just falling up the stairs. Wow, I just happened to trip and fall in the right spot. That's the best. The human propensity to mess things up. We start there. We live there. We acknowledge it, which is really, really easy. And you see the picture there. That's a picture of arrogance. I just typed in arrogance into Google, and that's the picture I got. Anybody who would not acknowledge, no, it doesn't look like anybody. Yeah, a perfect demonstration of the human propensity happening right now in real time. That looks like, no, the picture of arrogance in the church bulletin on a dedication Sunday, I know. But it's perfect because no one would take seriously a human being says, I do not have this human condition of messing things up. We'd all roll our eyes and walk away or just dismiss this person. Because I don't think any of us would ever do that. And that's the basis of what a true faith community is built on. Whew, I really messed this up. Yeah, because we're humans. We do it all the time to each other for good motivations, for bad motivations, for motivations we don't understand because we didn't take the time to sort of look in the mirror and be like, why am I doing this? In a community like that, from that moment, we can build grace and forgiveness to each other. No matter what we say or do, we can ask for forgiveness, we can offer forgiveness, we can actually get into a genuine, intimate, loving relationship with each other based on a mutual understanding that we are all broken and we are all trying to do our best. With no airs, no arrogance to say, oh, I'm not walking a broken path. Nope, I don't have bad things in my heart. Nope, I'm not trying to do that. All these things we understand. It's like, whew, I fell down this week. And everybody nods and smiles. We can joke with each other. We can not take ourselves so seriously. And we can try to love each other, hold each other up when the falls are really bad, when the falls are just silly, when we're not even aware enough to say, I'm sorry that I said or did that thing. This is the good path. It's a daily decision to walk together in loving, gracious, and forgiving ways over and over and over again. This is the type of community I hope your little girl finds. A gracious community, a supportive community, a community that recognizes the human propensity to screw things up and doesn't crucify each other for it. Every day is new. Every day gives us new opportunities to fall up the stairs if we're lucky. As long as we acknowledge our shared humanity and our shared desire to do this human thing, this thing we call life, just a little bit better than we did yesterday. Through the strength and the power of our God, who breathes life and meaning and makes every single person here sacred, powerful, and too important to be doomed or damned by the mistakes we make. And so it's a communion service. And the communion service, the Christian story tells us of a God that loves us so much, demonstrates this so powerfully, and the good news of this is that even as something as awful and seemingly permanent as death is inadequate to fully remove us from the love, the grace, and the forgiveness of our God. The characteristics we as a little church are trying our best in our broken ways to emulate.